everyone. How are you? Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is doing well on this Tuesday. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see by the title, I am back to speak about something that has been trending all over the social platforms. And this does, unfortunately, is speaking about Jeezy and Jeannie Mai's divorce. And so the question of, from many outlets, other tarot channels, is trying to figure out what may have been the cause of this divorce coming to an end. And so just like other outlets and other channels that have been covering this particular story, I as well wanted to kind of tap in, just like those of you that may be wondering what may have been the contributing factors pertaining to this, especially something that for me and like others, I didn't see this coming. And it wasn't meant to see it coming because I don't follow them. I'm not a fan of Jeannie Mai. I'm not a fan of Jeezy. But when it comes to marriage, I am someone that, vouches for marriage because it's a serious commitment, as we already know. And I'm not for divorce, especially when a situation in a marriage is not abusive, or if you are not dealing with a habitual cheater or cheating, then that's one thing. But if it's not neither one, and I don't see that being the case here when it came to their marriage, like I said, I'm one that roots for marriage because it is a commitment, a serious commitment. We're not talking about a girlfriend boyfriend commitment. This is a relationship, a marriage that they both took vows, right? And so to see that it was only 2 years that they have been married, and now GZ wanting to file for divorce from her, it does raise questions as to what may have been the contributing factors as to what led to this ending. Okay, so we are going to tap in and we're going to see. I am going to say first off that there are various components involved here as to what may have went wrong, and we're going to break that down. And then before we get into the tarot, I'm going to intuitively break down that part of what I feel may have happened. And then we will close out with my tools, the tarot cards, because what I feel, you may not be able to feel and understand how I arrive at what it is I'm going to and how I interpreted this reading. And so this is where later on my cards will come into play so you guys can see exactly what may have resulted in this. And I will tell you right now that I got more of GZ's energy that have come out with the spread, which leads me to believe that definitely he was the one, which he did initiate filing to divorce, that with all his energy out here, basically, he took over the reading, okay? Which means that this was his doing and something that he have been contemplating for the past year, okay? So we're going to begin. I'm going to try not to make this a very long video pertaining to this situation. But I do want to start off, like I say, with just kind of breaking down the key factors, the dynamics of what may have taken place, putting my intuitive spin on it, and then we will wind down with the cards, okay? So we're going to start off by the first component. As I mentioned, there are a few various components to this. And so the first component is this. At times, depending, and I did take notes because I feel like I said, these are like key factors. And I just did not want to leave out anything. I wanted to make sure that for me, I covered what needed to be covered. And so I did take notes and write down to me what I felt that I wanted to highlight here. Okay, so the first component is this: depending on family cultures, those with strong ethical, traditional beliefs or practices, when there exists family ties that are bonded very strongly, you could say when you marry that person, when you marry that potential partner or spouse, you also are marrying their family. And I'm pretty sure that some of you can agree with me there that that phrase comes with certain family, cultural, heritage type of orientations, okay? And the three that stood out to me the most that definitely are family oriented with having those strong ethical family traditions, one of which I wrote here is Greeks. Greeks, they are extremely family oriented, and everyone is seen to be related to everyone else. And sometimes, well, most times, they do dwell within the same household. Now, to further understand, and everything that I'm pointing out here, it's all going to make sense because you might say, some of you might say, well, what in the world do that have to do with their divorce? It has a lot. So as we go further in, you would see basically how all of this comes together. It's like connecting the dots here, right? It's almost like a detective trying to put together the puzzle here, right? And in a way, you can say us tarot readers, you know, and those who have empathic abilities, we sometimes have to kind of solve the mystery. We got to kind of connect the dots here. So I'm piecing all of these factors into one major answer as to what have happened here. All right, so it's going to make sense. So when just speaking about that, Greeks is one of the most known when it comes to family traditions and so forth, and the cultures that is behind that tradition. The movie that came to my mind in the film is My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So for those of you that know about that movie, and if you don't know about it, I would even give you, I would even encourage you to, whenever you get a chance, to look at that. My Big Fat Greek Wedding, okay? And the premise of that movie was about a Greek American woman that falls in love with a non-Greek, struggling to accept him while coming to terms with her heritage, her cultural identity. Now let's flip that role to Jeezy. This is him being the one that will feel that he needs to be accepted, right? It's not so much Jeannie going through this. She already knows her family culture, but it's Jeezy. How well did he adjust and adapt possibly to the difference in cultures, right? Because there is a big difference, okay? So that is one example of family cultures, which is pointing to the fact that this may have been the component to what has happened toward the ending of this marriage. Another family-oriented, traditional, cultural type of belief is that of Italians. Italians have similar family-oriented traditions when in their culture that is popular to live with extended families such as grandparents, aunts, uncles, etc., so on. And last but not least, this is where Jeannie Mai's culture can come into play. Asian culture. However diversified, because they are not the same, right? But Asian culture encompasses various ethnicities, that being Japanese, Korean, Filipino, and then of course Chinese, which is where now Jeannie Mai comes into play with her family culture. It is shown that Jeannie Mai is half Chinese and have Vietnamese, okay? Vietnamese. And so when it comes to these cultures, marriage is strong and it's very important to their culture, okay? So with that component being explained here, that might have been one of the components, or I should say contributing components, okay? Now, and so basically, when we look at that, it comes down to belief systems, it comes down to value systems. Could these cultural traditions in some way have created pressure on Jeezy to adapt or adjust to? Possibly. Another component that I picked up pertaining to Jeezy is he had an awakening, an aha moment, if you will, a reality that set in him, which I call a reality set syndrome, which means for me an internal emotional feeling of simply becoming very overwhelmed. I would say during the first year of their marriage, I feel like it was pretty good. It was pretty decent, right? You know how they have that when a couple marries and you go through that honeymoon phase? Generally, it lasts for the first 3 months. So I would say that he survived during that first year. But during that first year, I feel like for him, that's where reality set in. So you can say that coming into the second year of marriage, he began to feel the reality of what marriage, what that commitment is beginning to look like and feel like for him. And then when you add, so you can say that that honeymoon phase extended for that year. But, and I feel like he survived. He tried everything he could to survive that. Okay? Turn over my notes. But I will say that now, one second, guys. I just want to make sure that I am not going over my, I'm not repeating on my notes, so just give me a second. Okay, so basically I remember what I said when I left this part, as I was mentioning that basically I would say that he survived during that first year of marriage. But now coming into that second year of marriage, now I don't know how far along in the marriage that they had a baby, because we do know that out of this marriage they did create or procreate a baby girl who is 20 months year old named Monaco. And that is all I'm going to pretty much say pertaining to the little baby, because you know, I don't feel that I need to get, because I saw other outlets where that was like a very heated discussion in some outlets and channels, that was a very like heated debate and so forth. I don't feel I need to kind of, you know, really speak about the baby. All we know is that she did in fact have a baby with Jeezy. She's 21 years old. Her name is Monaco. Very beautiful name for a very beautiful baby. She's very beautiful. But unfortunately, I won't say unfortunately, because children are gifts from God, right? But I say that when that baby came along, that was, as the phrase goes, I feel that that is what broke the camel's back, okay? And I know that I mentioned that somewhere in my notes. Somewhere I wrote that. One second. Okay. So, speaking about that, okay, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, so just bear with me. Just want to make sure I don't repeat myself. So I mentioned about the baby, and this is when I feel like I mentioned that when that baby came along, I feel that in some ways that broke the camel's back. And again, we're speaking about this second year, okay, of their marriage. Things begin to change. The dynamics begin to change. Things in that environment, the people that are in that environment, because it wasn't just Jeezy and Jeannie. There were, from what I understand, that she had her mother. So going back to the culture, the Asian culture, where it is very much popular that you can have other relatives to dwell with you, whether you are married, single, or whatever your status is. There's a tight bond that is connected to such cultures, right? And I wanted to say, pertaining to the baby, though, I will say this. I feel that, now remember, for those of you that know, Jeannie was also the co-host of the daytime talk show, The Real, right? And she was the co-host along with Tamar Braxton, Lonnie Love, Adrian, and I believe it was Tamira. And so that's where I knew her from. You know, I used to watch that show diligently until Tamar left and I stopped watching it. Nonetheless, I brought that up because during that course of her show, you know, we also know that for Jeannie, now for Jeezy, it might be his first marriage. But for Jeannie, this is, I believe, at least her second marriage. I don't know if she was married prior to her last relationship to her ex-husband, but at least it's her second marriage. So I said it because even though she was in a previous marriage relationship, she spoke about very candidly and very adamantly about not having children, about not having a baby, for whatever her reason is, right? We don't judge, and that's another thing. I'm not going to be judging. You know, I'm just expressing the facts, but it's how I deliver it. It will not be judging. So, but with that being said, though, she expressed she didn't want to have a child. But fast forwarding to her now being with Jeezy, and I really feel that they both loved each other, okay? Until things began to change, especially for Jeezy, okay? I feel like when she got with him, I feel that later on, she saw herself if I was going to have a baby anytime in my lifetime, it would be with him, because she was very, like I said, very strong and just wasn't ready for whatever her reason is, right? But when she got with Jeezy, I feel that it was different. And so, you know, sometimes that happens in life, right? You can just find that one person that you think you will spend the rest of your life with and have a future with, and you decide, if you was a woman that never had a baby, it's like, yes, I see myself with that person, because I have a friend and she is like that, where she doesn't have a baby, but with the right person, you can see yourself kind of like reconsidering and having a baby. And I feel that that's what happened with Jeannie. I say that because I feel like she was wanting a child and not Jeezy. Okay, so I want to put that out there. And I feel that for him, it wasn't a big deal. If he didn't, he was good. If it happened, it happened. But I think she felt that he was the one that she can finally, like I said, become a mother with him. Okay? Now, with that being said, fast forwarding, I feel like once she had this baby, it made her, because the show that she was on, it has been canceled. So if they do show it, it's like in syndications or repeats, right? It's not like an up-to-date continuation of the show. I believe that it was canceled. So now, I don't know what else Jeannie does, but I feel like at this time, since the birth of her child, her and Jeezy's child, that she's been a stay-at-home mom, okay? And with that being said, I feel like having this child really made her more wanting to be home. Really just kind of like bringing out her motherly type of, you know, wanting to be that mother, to be close to her child. But now, at the same time, what I feel intuitively is that somehow she wanted or expected the same for GZ. I'm just feeling strongly as I was just kind of just picking things up, and one of my strongest clairs abilities is clairsentient. And that taps into people's emotions. And it's almost like I embody, what it is that they could be feeling. And I'm really feeling that with her having a certain way of parenting and wanting to be close to the child, as well as for her, it's like if I waited years before I decided I wanted to have a baby with the man that is going to kind of, help me father this child, then it's like it's kind of selfish in a way, because where I'm going with this is that I feel like she wanted him also on the home front. Now, Jeezy is a rapper, and we're going to, in a second, break down when it comes to the traits, because I'm going to also bring up were they astrologically compatible, okay? And that's very significant. But Jeezy is a rapper, so he is in an industry, right? When you compare what she does, she's, you can say, a reality star, and so forth, or even a socialite, right? But with him, you can say his career is more bigger. His career is more further in terms of him making appearances, being into the social aspect of what it is that he does, which also means as an artist, someone that is going to be busy, and it may take him away from the home and put him on the road, right? But also his interacting, which means if he is a rapper and he's trying to collaborate with other artists, that's just like his world. That is what that is going to encompass. Him wanting to be home, it was never something that he was willing to compromise or debate about. And this is where I believe things began to get nasty. I believe where she began to show that side of her that it was looked at as kind of selfish and less supportive. Now, I know there was a quote that he mentioned on his Instagram page. I don't know exactly the words, but you guys might know, or you can go to his Instagram page if it's there. It was something relating to where I have to move on and do me with or without the support. Something to that nature. You might know what I'm talking about. So if you do, you could drop it into the comment section. Or if you want to know exactly what he said, you can go, because it was something that he mentioned and put out on his Instagram. Okay? Because I don't follow him, so I don't know exactly. But I know that it was said, like on Google, and kind of bringing the story up, that he made a quote behind that. And that was kind of like a green light, a red flag, I should say, that people began to think, okay, what did he exactly mean by that? Then when this came out a few days later that he's filing for divorce, then it all made sense. But I say that because I feel like with Jeannie, if she wanted him to be close at home and wanted to just kind of have that family type of, in that type of vibe, she being home, he being home, or just not, she may have even wanted to tell him to, well, let's just say hypothetically, he might have said, well, I want to start, collaborating, or I want to start to, maybe go on tour or to collaborate with other artists, and it's going to require us to have to be away a few months at a time or a few weeks at a time. I feel that she was not trying to hear that. I don't think that she really wanted him to be away from the house or home that long, right? And again, I feel that GZ was not trying to hear that, and he won't even like going to have that up for debate, because it's already where his mind is career oriented. Excuse me. And I feel like excuse me, that was something that he was not going to be willing to, excuse me, to do. And that stirred up Jeannie. I think that really bothered her. And I think when she spoke to him, I think it was very disrespectful, right? So we already know, as a wife and you are trying to make your point across, if you are coming across very disrespectful and it's almost like a side is coming out of you, whether he have seen the side or not, maybe not, but I think that she showed her true colors. And sometimes in marriages, you get to see people's true colors. Sometimes you see it early on in a relationship, and sometimes it may come out a little bit later. When you see a person's colors, right, it's almost like that saying too. When a person shows you who they are, believe them. But in retrospect, sometimes it has to, if you don't see a person's colors in the beginning of a marriage or relationship, it just hasn't been the right circumstance, the right situation. And I feel that this baby, right, created, in so many ways, I believe it created a lot of factors. Like everything, it was just almost like I said, it broke the camel's back in so many ways, in terms of just Jeannie attitude and him wanting to maybe be home more, and just because in her mind she feels like, okay, if I was willing to kind of hold back on my career from doing whatever I want to do, to be a stay-at-home mom, then she sees him like, you are good, like you are, doing well financially. It's not like you are suffering and you needing to make money. I kind of feel that she looked at his finances and what he has as something that where he could afford to take time home and be home, at least until maybe the child get a little bit older. And then it's like, then, when she's of a certain age, then if you want to go back. But Jeezy is not looking at it that way. He's looking at it because I'm going to tell you now, and looking at the energy of the cards and the cards that came out, this man is about his career. He has passions. He has dreams. He just recently released his book, right? So that was just one thing he probably been working on and wanted to do. So overall, I don't want to keep jumbling, but it all is going to make sense. It's going to come together, okay? And so ultimately, I feel that Jeannie was very high-strung and disrespectful and tried to make him feel guilty as not being close to his child. I believe she played the guilt trip on him, okay? So she's giving him like that guilty treatment. Well, if you're not home with the child, you're going to miss out on this. You're going to miss out on seeing her taking her first steps. You're going to miss out on this. And yes, if we, as parents, whether it be the mother or the father, if we're not there, you do miss out on certain things. But I feel that, she used that to try to get him to feel guilty and to feel a certain way, to see it from her perspective. But it was not going to work. Okay, so I'm going to end it with that next component. So that was the second component overall that I see, that he was not going to try to even further that anymore. All right, and what else? Now, I did hear that prior to the divorce that they had been separated. Okay, so I don't know how true it is, but let's just say that was the case, that they had been separated before officially divorcing, whether it was a few months that they were separated or a couple of weeks before this. I feel either way, I bring this particular part up because separation, I want to say, separation, when a married couple, that is, we're not talking about just a boyfriend-girlfriend couple, no. When a married couple separates for whatever reason, separation doesn't always end in divorce, okay? Because I'm saying this because Jeannie didn't expect that it was going to lead to divorce. Separation is to see, it's taking a pause, is to see if a couple want to compromise as I feel that they had to compromise quite a bit, particularly with the child. It's a period where you need to take time to see, are we willing to? Because overall, marriage requires work from both parties, right? It's not just one or the other. Both have to want it. You have to want to continue on. You have to ask yourself, do we want to go the distance? Are we willing to go that distance to make this work? So despite our dilemmas, despite our differences in culture and parenting, are we willing to overcome that and figure something out so that we can move on to avoid a divorce? And I feel that when I came to picking this up, the card that came to me, for those that know and read tarot, or knows the major arcana card that came out to me was the Tower. The Tower is an energy of destruction, sudden changes, out of nowhere surprises. So if in fact they did separate prior to this, I feel that Jeannie didn't expect that it was going to end in divorce. She expected that, okay, let's take time out. I'm okay with you taking a moment if that's what you needed, and hopes that they were going to work things out. And I feel that Jeannie Mai is having a hard time, all right? Her emotions right now is unbearable. And I will say this, it wouldn't surprise me if somehow she does seek professional therapy to recover from this, okay? Now, some may say, oh, she's putting on airs. Anything is possible, right? Because there's also an image, particularly people that are celebrities. Yes, it is an image that they have to uphold. But internally, I feel her pain. I feel it. She may not show it, but she feels it internally. And that internal pain is killing her. When I tell you she is extremely, extremely, she didn't see this coming, guys. She did not see this coming by no way of the imagination. So even if there was a separation, and they did separate, like I said, she didn't think that it was going to end to divorce. She really, and I feel like even the separation made her a little panicky and nervous, like, oh my God, what happens from here? But separation, again, doesn't always end in divorce. So, but I feel that, on the other hand, Jeezy, I feel like within the past year, he was planning this, okay? He was planning this and thinking about it, introspecting, trying to figure things out. During that first year, like I said, I feel things was good. But coming into that second year, he was in introspective mode. He was taking a lot of maybe hermit moments, trying to figure out what should he do. Okay? So now as we come down further into my notes, overall, I feel that I did mention, like I said, she may have to seek professional therapy to get over it. I know I had a friend as well. She dealt with she dealt with a divorce, and to kind of help her recover through that, she had to have, therapy. So it can happen. And I feel that, and so people might say, well, that generally happens for all women, that they'll be devastated. No, I don't agree with that. And the reason why is not all women are the same. Some women are very, very in tune with understanding that life happens, and it's almost like that phrase, when life throws you lemons, what you do? You make lemonade. So for some women, sometimes out of a divorce, it may not shake them. It may be something that maybe they saw coming, or they prepare for the unexpected. And when you prepare for something, not saying that you are wishing anything negative on your marriage, but some people just realize they accept what it is and they move on. For Jeannie, this is not the case. This woman is very, very devastated, okay, by what happened. Another quick example, Wendy Williams. After that happened, she never is not quite the same, right? So it affects different women. There are other women that we have heard, that have came out of marriages, and for some it's like they're doing okay, they're moving on. And then for some, they would need therapy. So to me, if they have to resort to that, that means that there is some very internal traumatic emotional pain that they are trying to recover from, and they cannot do it alone. Even if they have their mother, even if they have family, sometimes it's not enough. They need that professional therapy to help them to fully recover. So it wouldn't surprise me if we hear at some time later that she is seeking some type of therapy. All right. Now, from that, now, what about him? Well, he was the one that initiated this divorce. So, I feel he does not regret his decision to end this marriage. But what he does feel is when it comes to to his baby daughter, I feel that he feels bad only because now the baby is caught up between what is going on between him and Jeannie. So he feels bad that she has to kind of be a part of this, this harmony at this time. Um, and the drama that is going on between him and mommy. So he feels for that little girl. I feel he loves her. Even though it was something that you can't say that I don't think he wanted per se a child, but it's like if it happens, I'm going to love the child whether it was planned or not, okay? And so moving on, I feel as well that I feel that he will not be like a deadbeat father. I feel that he will support his child at a distance. There is, I believe, something that says that he is actually trying to get like 50-50 custody or something like that, so that, even though he is not primarily in the home, but that he still wants to be a part of his daughter's life. So I definitely see that. And now as we come down to the next component, now I did do a quick 3-card spread to shuffle to just quickly see if in fact he would support his child. And the 3 cards that came out was the Two of Swords, the King of Pentacles, and the Six of Pentacles. So the Two of Swords is an energy of blockage or at crossroads. The energy of the Two of Swords is someone being at crossroads because they are actually in a crossroad of drama. So that is exactly what's going on. But despite him being involved in this drama and this whole situation between him and Jeannie, it's not going to interfere with him doing his obligation and providing for the child, okay? Because the King of Pentacles is about support, right? As much as he can. That is fair, of course, right? And then the Six of Pentacles is about give or take. Now, right quick, I do want to say that I feel there will be drama, however, pertaining to child support, in a sense where they go to court. I feel like whatever has been issued as the amount that he will give or contribute to her child support every month, I feel that Jeannie somehow is going to contest it, or she's going to want more. I picked that up very strongly as well. I feel that that is going to be some type of drama there in terms of what and how much he should give the child. Because I feel like she feels that whatever amount has been set by the judge, somehow she's going to have her attorney to kind of give more to the child. That is something that I feel strongly about. It doesn't have to happen, but I have to speak upon what I feel could happen as I'm really just, channeling and tuning into the energies and the vibe that I'm getting from Jeannie, that I feel that it's going to be something that it's going to turn out. That would be the part that I think more than anything else that would be nasty, because I feel like she would feel that he should give way more. Now, could that be because he just came out with his book and she feels like, he should be given more, or whatever else he has going on, or she feels that maybe, he has more net worth than she does. Don't know what would be her reason, but I feel that this will be the twist where, again, she is showing more of that kind of selfish and, unfair type of, spirit. Okay? So that part, so that was pretty much the second component. Now, we are now going to, as we wind down, we are now going to come to astrology. Because, believe it or not, when it comes to astrology, it plays a very big role. Why? Because zodiac compatibility offers a lens to understand astrological interests. So even though we all are individual in our own way, but for me, when you kind of know the person that you're about to enter into a relationship with, and especially a marriage, believe me, you're going to want to have some type of bird's eye view. You'll wanting to know, what is that person's traits and personality? Are we astrologically aligned? Are we compatible? Can we be compatible? Looking at the pros and cons, looking at their likes, dislikes, right? Is that something that will create an ideal match? Is what the question is. So for me, knowing your astrology is, to me, giving you a heads up as to what could be the dynamics of your relationship, and especially a marriage, because this is a relationship that you are trying to endure for the long haul, right? It's not something you get married and you looking to cut it off. No. So you have to ask yourself, when marriages fail within a short period of time, a couple of months, a year or two, you have to ask yourself, well, maybe if I had have known more and understood what and how astrology can play a part, maybe I would have saved myself the trouble. But it doesn't mean that it's always going to be the be all, the answer. No, because sometimes opposites attracts. But again, to me, it's very crucial because it can save you, but it can give you a heads up as to the person's personality. Okay? Now, speaking of personalities, now we are going to point out that Jeezy, his zodiac sign is a Libra. So that makes him an air sign. Jeannie Mai's zodiac sign is a Capricorn. That makes her an earth sign. Okay? And so when we look at them astrologically being compatible, it is said that they may not be the best match, as they are quite different inherent traits between them. Okay? And I think that wraps it up. So now that we know about their sign, again, Jeezy is a Libra, Jeannie is a Capricorn. So now that we know their signs, one last thing is, now that we know what sign they are, I want to point out, before we go to the tools, my tarot, we're going to point out now, then, what is the traits? What is their differences? Which now will shed light on what may have gone wrong. So when it comes to Libra traits, they are a social butterfly that thrives at events and gatherings. Capricorns, they prefer quiet, intimate moments over large social events. And that can also tap into just being at home, more at home, right? More of a homebody, right? Another factor or trait of that of a Libra, diplomatic and charming, easily winning people over. That will be part of his personality in terms of his interaction with people during social events. Also playing into his career of him interacting and being and wanting to be out in the open. Kind of more outside than inside. Whereas Capricorn, they are naturally cautious, especially when it comes to showing emotions. And last, Libra, enthusiastic about trying new experiences and expressing their perspectives. Okay? So, that definitely is what Jeezy, I think, was trying to do when speaking to Jeannie, that he has new passions, He has new perspectives and wanting to or have expressed it to her, but she did not quite see it that way. And last, she is about values, traditions, and tends to stick to familiar routines. How fitting, because when it comes to that part, it's about, again, family orientation, family cultures and the values that they have. So, right there, you can see it's almost like night and day, kind of. Now, overall, doesn't mean that people who have different interests, when it comes to their traits and so forth, that they can't make. Anybody can make a relationship, a marriage work. The question or the point is, if the two people is willing to compromise, communicate, want to go the distance. Because if one wants to go the distance and the other doesn't, it's not going to go the distance. It has to take two people to want to go the distance, to compromise, to see the long term of that relationship. And so, with that being said, everyone, we are now going to go into the cards. So, you're going to see what it is and how I feel the way I do pertaining to the situation at hand. All right. So, first card up. Now, remember, again, Jeezy is a Libra. So anytime we see the swords energies out here, that will pretty much be associated with his sign. And if we saw pentacles, it will perhaps be associated with her sign. But I'm going to tell you right now that the only pentacle card that we got was the Ten of Pentacles, but it's pertaining to him. So again, as I mentioned earlier on, that this whole reading pretty much was his energy, okay? Was pretty much, he took over the reading. All right, but we're going to tap into what came out first, which tells a whole lot. Nine of Swords. It begins with his energy. The Nine of Swords is someone that is overstressed, have a lot going on in their head, so they are eternally dealing with a lot. Okay, internally dealing with a lot, or have been dealing with a lot. After 9, there is 10. So in other words, 10 in numerology and in tarot is a completion of a cycle. It's an ending. So when you see there's a 9, more than likely it's going to head to the 10. Because especially with the Nine of Swords, it's showing that there's anxiety. It's like a building up of a momentum, but there's a lot that's going on internally. Now, I took the liberty to as well pull out the Nine of Swords from the other deck, because as you can see here, when I just spoke about internalizing, being stressed out, the Nine of Swords is showing up this way from one of my decks that I'm using. And then in another deck, the Nine of Swords is showing this. This is generally the Nine of Swords that most tarot decks, it looks like. Someone in bed, which leads me to believe that this man here, guys, in the past year, but even more so in the months to come, he has been dealing with a lot. Not only with Jeannie, but other components that I mentioned early on, right? The child, no doubt, family members living there. Her mom, I believe, lives there or was living with them. So all of that, all of these swords, it was building up, which means it was adding to a lot of pressure, adding to a lot of anxiety, internal anxiety. I don't even think that he really even had much to say. I feel like it was more where he observed. He was just kind of observing things and just kind of taking notes, mental notes. But it was getting to him, okay? And it was getting to him that he knew at some point he would have to come to a decision, okay? Coming down to the wire of things, okay? Now, to clarify that Nine of Swords, what came out was the Ace of Wands to the Ten of Pentacles. Now, like I said, with Jeannie being a Capricorn, she can be associated with the Pentacles because Pentacles deals with earth signs, right? But, like I said, this is not her. This is his energy. How so? Because he's been up in the past couple of weeks or months. He's been contemplating and thinking about. Remember early on I mentioned an awakening, an aha moment? You can say that was his aha moment. I'm actually going to use the other Nine of Swords illustration because to me, that really shows what he was feeling. You see here, this person putting their hands on their face is like, what have I done? What have I gotten myself into? You know, I was not ready for this kind of commitment. Now, I don't know if Jeezy was ever married before. I'm feeling that he wasn't, that he was in relationships, but not like marriage, okay? And he does have other children. But I feel like this is him right here. What have I done? So at night, or I feel that he may have had to maybe whenever he was alone. Because the other card that I pulled out when asking what is the overall message of these energies of the Ace of Wands to the Ten of Pentacles, because again, before I mention that, Ten of Pentacles is to me like thinking about your life, your future, right? Your future, you want to see your future in the Ten of Pentacles, being very secure in every way, not just financially, but being fulfilled, right? I think about the Ten of Cups, being fulfilled, right? They kind of intertwine because it's all about fulfillment. So it doesn't have to always be financially fulfilled, but when it comes to love, when it comes to you feeling successful, feeling good within yourself, it can, you know, be associated with so many good things. But this is like a projection of what it is that you want to see for the future. And if he's up at night thinking about what have I done, then you can see how he was in the Nine of Swords energy. Okay? But with the Ace of Wands, this is somebody that is set out on new things. They have a few passions. It doesn't have to be one. Okay? The passion that just happened for him was releasing his book. So that was one passion that he kind of went through. But there are other things that he wants to do. And so that aha moment led him into the Hermit. Okay? The Hermit is an energy of introspection and reflecting, what have I done? Now, I don't feel that he even had that much time to be alone. I feel like he was always surrounded by people. So not just Jeannie, maybe family members, her mom, whoever else that was in that environment, in that home. So I feel that it's very seldom that he was by himself, okay? He may have to go outside of the main house and maybe somewhere else on the property. I don't know how big the house is and how many rooms, but I can only imagine that it's a pretty, nice, decent house where it wasn't like he was in a studio or in a one bedroom. I feel that the house was big enough so that if he wanted to, a quiet room, he would have a quiet space. Or if he had to step out of the house, take a drive somewhere, whatever it was that he needed to really get clarity on, what do I do? I am trapped. I'm feeling stuck. The pressure is rising. It's rising. It's boiling. So this was a buildup, guys, that I feel that was happening behind the scenes. Okay? And that might have been why he wanted that separation. Because I'm telling you, it wasn't her that wanted that separation. It was him. If that's what happened. Okay? Now, moving on to the second card, we have the Strength. So yes, this is his energy. I feel that it had to take a lot of courage, strength, and confidence for him to decide, I don't think this is for me. I made a very big mistake. And to clarify that, we have the Five of Cups, and there go that tower. London Bridge has fallen down. And this tower that I mentioned earlier, this here I picked up Jeannie. She did not see it coming. He saw it coming because he created the tower. But she was a recipient of that tower. Okay? She didn't see it coming. Now, going back to the Five of Cups along with the Strength, I feel this is him showing up as the Five of Cups, he was saddened only because of the baby. I don't think he was sad about wanting to walk away from this or ending this marriage. I feel that when it comes to him feeling this way, it's connected to that child. I feel that he felt very bad that he had to kind of walk away from his daughter and couldn't like be there physically. But overall, he had enough strength and courage to create this tower. Okay? And the tower, like I said, is strongly connected to Jeannie. She did not see it coming because towers is sudden. You know, it's something that you may not see. It takes you off by surprise. And you can say, in fact, she was definitely taken by surprise. Okay? And she is devastated, guys. When I tell you, she is very devastated. You know, like I said, you don't wish anything like this on your enemies. You know, I feel for her, you know, because like I say, you just don't want this, especially when they are children, young babies that, you know, have come out of a union and then for a marriage to kind of end after having a freshly newborn child, you know, so to speak. No, well, not quite freshly born, but the baby's 20 month old, right? So that's about what? She's a year and a half, give or take, so to speak, right? Yeah, she's about a year. So it's unfortunate, right? The next card that came out, guys, is the Six of Wands. The Six of Wands is a card of victory. It's a card of success. It's a card of recognition. But it's also, you can say, at times, if you have been dealing with any type of challenges, it's like, yes, I have made it. You know, there's a sense of freedom as well that can be associated with the Six of Wands. But to clarify exactly what the Six of Wands mean pertaining to Jeezy, it's about his career. Speaking about those passions and endeavors. Because we have, to clarify that we have the Six of Cups along with the Justice. This is his energy right here. The Justice is associated with the sign of Libra. So this is his sign right here, his energy. Now, what does that have to do with the Six of Cups? Guys, remember early on when I was breaking down the components, I mentioned that he is about his career. And I feel like when that baby came along, right? I feel like that what broke the camel's back. This is Jeezy looking back. It's almost like he did a before and an after. Like, how was my life before I committed myself to this marriage? And now the baby. Marriage and then the baby carriage, so to speak. Marriage and then the baby carriage. However that saying goes. It's like, before I got involved and committed myself, I was in this energy of the Six of Wands. I felt more successful. I felt like I was able to get things done. I was being seen. Because remember, Libra is about social activities, social settings, events. This is connected to his career. And generally, the Six of Wands is connected to career. It's connected to having achieved something. So he achieved his book, right? Because it just was released. But there are other things he wants to achieve. And so the question for him is, how can I, because Libra is about balance, the scales. How can I balance my career and family? How can I balance my career and maintaining some sort of equilibrium or balance when it comes to my personal relationship, my marriage, right? Is it sustainable? I think that's what is going on here. That he was drawing a balance between that. Can it be possible? Can it be sustainable? Is it something that he feels that he could juggle? Now I'm a family man. I'm a married man. I'm a baby, a father to a baby. Can I juggle the two? And I feel that it became overwhelming for him because to clarify those energies, we did get the Nine of Wands. Nine of Wands is challenges, obstacles. And unfortunately, I have to say, I think he felt that being married and the child, it's almost, even though he loved the child, but it's almost where for him, somehow, he felt that it was going to interfere with his success and his endeavors. And sometimes, guys, we're not going to judge, but sometimes when life sets in, sometimes it can be too much. I don't know exactly how old he is. I think he's in his mid-40s. But for him, I just think that he may have moved too fast. Okay? Wish that he had given it more thought to prevent this and from having to bring a child into the picture. But it is what it is, right? I think that it became too overwhelming. It was too overbearing for him. This imagery of this Knight of Wands is somebody that is low or beginning to feel because they're being hit with so many components. Remember, those components to me equals challenges, obstacles that he was dealing with during especially the last year of this marriage. And when the baby came along, I think that was what, like I said early on, what broke the camel's back, unfortunately. Okay, he became very overwhelmed. Now, moving on to the next card that came out, we have here the Star. The Star is somewhat intertwining with the energy of the Six of Wands. It's wish fulfillment, but it's also the person feeling like a star. And I feel this is where I think with being a family man, he thought that somehow his success and being a star and doing things when it comes to his career was somehow going to put a blockage. It was going to kind of slow down his success, right? Because for him, it's like, I'm a star and I need to shine. I have fans, I have supporters, I have events, I have social encounters and so forth. I need to kind of keep it going. It's like I'm on a roll. My book just came out. I have other things I want to do. And this is just going to, I think, just get in my way. Unfortunately, that's how I'm feeling very strongly about that, and I'm going to stick with that. Now, to clarify those energies, what came out was the Ten of Cups and the Magician. Now, Ten of Cups deals with the family. So remember, I am pouring in or spilling over that energy of his energy about balance. Remember I mentioned it's him trying to figure out if he can balance his career along with family. The Ten of Cups is here. Now, let's speak about that Magician. That Magician, also the Ten of Cups deals with home and things of that matter. Now, I want to just make mention, the Magician, which is, by the way, one of my favorite major arcanas, because it's a major arcana in the tarot. Now, first and foremost, there are different readers that will associate the Magician with, magic, so forth. And it can be. Absolutely it can be. The point I'm trying to make is, it's not always associated with that. You have to see how the flow of the reading is, what other energies, and because not every reading will relate to what the card is associated with. So you can't always go by the traditional meaning of what the card is. This is where your intuitive ability will have to come into play, as it should anyway. You should never just go strictly with just the traditional meaning of any tarot card, because then you're just going by that and you're not using your intuitive abilities. For me today, in this situation, in this scenario, the major arcana goes to what I like to call as the illusion. Okay, no magic here. I don't pick up that there was any type of magic. If we had other cards that could allude to that, then it might be a different type of interpretation. But today, for this particular reading, the Magician for me is Jeezy's energy, where the Magician can also, because in another deck, the Magician shows up with holding a cage. And that could be entrapment, feeling caged, feeling limited, feeling trapped in some way, right? And so for Jeezy, I feel that he felt possible that, what do I do? I'm feeling trapped. How do I come out of this situation? Okay? The Magician for me is the illusion. It's just what it is. At the end, you have the power to take up that wand because this magician is holding the wand. He's not holding the pentacle. He's not holding that cup, which means he is not emotional about his decision. He's not holding that sword. He's not being analytical about it. He's holding the wand because the wand is of action. He's taking action to change the narrative of his situation. And I usually Bavarius say on my channel toward the end of my readings that ultimately you are the final. Even though I give you my take and my interpretation on some readings, I will always say at the end, you are the final interpreter, which really means it's in you. You have the power. Believe in your magic. Believe that you have what it takes. You hold the key to change the narrative of your story for the better. Okay? So to me, this is Jeezy exuding the energy of the magician because now he has come to the point where he realizes it's in me to change a situation that I am no longer happy with. I'm not happy with the situation. I'm not happy with the home environment. And I'm not happy with possibly my spouse. I'm not happy with how things are becoming to look. And so once you realize that you can change the outcome for the better, change it toward your star, your happiness, then what is the next move? The next move is, the other card that came out is the Six of Swords. You have the magic to move from rougher waters, to move away from the chaos, move away from the drama, move away from anxiety and stress to go towards something that will be more calmer, something that will make you ultimately happy. Okay? So to understand that what and how the magician shows up for me for today pertaining to this situation. Okay? I don't think that there were any type of, like I said, any type of magic that was pretty much, done or anything like that, because other outlets and so forth may have mentioned that. But for me, I feel that it's GZ, that at the end, we all have the power to change our situation. We don't need to be stuck. If you're stuck, it's because you're allowing yourself to be stuck. And he decided he is not going to allow himself to be stuck into a marriage, unfortunately, or into an environment that he cannot adapt or adjust to. Because I'm going to tell you that ultimately it was challenging for him to adapt and adjust to the culture. Okay, guys, sorry, my tablet stopped on me, which is a cue for me to wind down this reading. So I take that as an omen that it's time for me to narrow it down. So, as I was saying, that he no longer wanted to continue on with the situation, that he wanted to put some type of, make a decision. Now, as we wind down and close out the reading, we come to the last card that came out, and we have here the card of Judgment. This is the judgment call. This is the horn that has blown for him, where he has made a final decision. Okay? And I don't think, like I said, this was a sudden decision. It was a sudden decision in terms of going through with the divorce, but the decision was something that he was pondering over, something that he was contemplating for the past couple of months. Okay? If not the year, but at least for the past couple of months. And then to clarify that judgment card, we have the Ace of Pentacles with the Knight of Pentacles. Okay? So for me, this is meaning overall, when it comes to his new ventures, when it comes to moving himself from an environment, a person, a place, or thing, I feel like he is ready and decided that judgment decision was for him to just start new. Because the Ace of Pentacles is like a breakthrough in whatever way that is. But this is like a new breakthrough in terms of just removing himself, almost like coming to the end of that chapter where now it's time for me, that magician energy again, it's time for me to close out this chapter, to close out this story, and to begin a new chapter, to begin a new story. And the Nine of Wands to me, it still kind of points to, at the same time, in one other aspect, the Pentacle is him again, envisioning, looking at what it is that he wants to do career-wise. It's like, will this situation, if I continue on, will it slow me down? Because the Knight of Wands is an energy that is not too fast, but it's not too slow. So it's like, will my passions that I have toward my career, will it slow me down if I continue to stay in this relationship, to stay in this marriage? Will it slow down? Like, he's fired up. Remember, he did get the ace early on in the reading. He got the ace, which means he's fired up. That means he has a lot of things. So when you combine the Ace of Wands to the Ace of Pentacles, this is a man that is about his career. This is a man that has a whole lot more to show for. And somehow, unfortunately, he feels that marriage was not going to help him to fulfill and to reach his star, to help him to shine bright in the way that he sees himself in the projected future. Okay, guys? And I just want to point out, before I close out, one more thing. We're going to close out with how he really feels, as I had pulled out 3 cards. But before I get that, I want to point to the bottom energies, which I call like the attaching energies. What we didn't see behind the shadows of what was going on from each deck. We have here the 4 of Pentacles, right? The 4 of Pentacles, which means that I feel that he was holding on. This came from the Clarifier deck. So the Clarifiers that came out. So the last one that came out from this deck was the Ace of Wands. I feel that with the 4 of Pentacles, it just shows that he was holding on, trying to hold on that first year onto the marriage. But coming into that second year, he didn't hold back. He didn't hold back. No, he wasn't going to hold back anymore from moving forward toward what he feels was going to be what's best for him. But at the end, at the bottom, what really triggered, and what really you can say is triggering all of this as to what may have ultimately led to this. Remember, when I mentioned about that Swords energy, the 9 of Swords, we have the 10 of Wands. Remember, even though we didn't get a 9 of Wands here, I don't think we got the 9 of Wands in this spread. It doesn't matter. After 9, there is 10. 10 signifies a completion, an ending. So, it's almost like the 9 of Swords. The 9 of Wands, the 10 of Wands, and we have the 9 of Swords. Going back, it leads. Remember I mentioned not that long ago, I said the 10 is going to lead somehow, the 9 is going to somehow lead to the 10. Because it's almost like frustration. It's almost like not dealing with the frustration, the anxiety, whatever it is, not dealing with it. And that's how Jeezy felt, that it was time to move those burdens away, to get away from it. And that's what he did. And then from the other deck, we did get at the bottom of the card, there go the 10 of Swords. So, again, 10 of Swords, 10 of Wands. This is what's lurking behind what we don't see in terms of what triggered what may have happened. Okay? Him wanting to come to closing this cycle out. It was just too much for him. It was too much. You know, when I just kind of feel and embody his emotions, I just felt like that man pretty much went through a lot for the past couple of months. I think it was too much for him. Now, there may be some that will maybe not agree with me and say, well, you know, he shouldn't have then married her. Absolutely. But again, I want to say, sometimes when we meet people, you know, don't know if they were friends before they got married, but sometimes when we do think that we have found somebody and we feel that, yes, this is somebody I want to spend my life with, then love is love. Your heart wants what your heart wants. At the end, we do have free will, right? And there's the law. We are governed by the law of attraction. So we can't judge and say who a person should not be attracted to, because that is attraction. That is love. And sometimes that attraction and love can lead to something more deeper, which is marriage. But sometimes later on, it can bite us in the butt because it's like, I didn't see this person's true colors, and so I just think that it was just one of those unfortunate situations that, he took a chance to maybe finally settle down, because I don't think he settled down like that in terms of getting married before. And I just think it's just one of those things that he took a chance, a big gamble on, and he lost, so to speak. Okay? Now, as we close out, and I'm going to close this out, I wanted to ask Spirit, how did Jeezy feel during the last year of his marriage? I pulled these cards. I pulled out 3 cards, and I want to say that when I pulled from the Soul's Journey deck, and the reason is because to me the Soul's Journey deck is a deck that kind of goes into the soul, the internal energy of what is really going on with a person. So if a person don't speak publicly, or if they don't openly express how they feel, some people can hold things in. And somehow I get the feeling that Jeezy is shy but quiet, and he tries to avoid confrontations. I feel that Libras anyway, because I have a friend who's a Libra and he don't like confrontations. So I feel that Libras, they don't like confrontation. They try to avoid it. But at the same time, if there's something bothering them, they are going to internalize it inside. They may not speak about it, but they can feel it. So you're not going to really see what they are truly feeling. And I feel to really tap into what his soul was kind of feeling during the course of this past year, or the past year of this marriage, I went to this deck. So I was guided to go to that deck. And I want to say that when I open the deck, most readers, what we do is, as we open the deck to shuffle, we kind of see what shows as we open it, what shows. And the first card that showed up was acceptance. So it didn't come out with the cards that came out, but it was acceptance. And I thought that was very important for me to kind of write it down, to remember that that was actually the first card. So in addition to him feeling that he was trying to feel accepted, or he wanted to be accepted somehow, but I feel that it was him trying to be accepted or trying to adapt. To me, that translates to him adapting and trying to adjust to, how do I fit in? So I feel that it's a part of him that tried to fit in, to be accepted. And that was not really going the way. But what came out, the first card that came out was guilt. Now you guys remember early on when it came down to, remember right quick when I mentioned early on, when speaking about the components of what had happened, what may have happened, I should say, because nothing is set in stone, right? My findings and what I feel, it may not be the case, right? But I did mention that she was playing the guilt trip on him. So I feel that in some ways, like I said, with guilt being here, it says, I release any beliefs that no longer assist in my soul's growth. So I felt that, again, he felt that he was being blamed because she tried to put that on him, giving him the guilt treatment. But at the same time, I release any beliefs. So any beliefs that she may have tried to put on him, he had to release that and let it go. It wasn't up for debate, okay? So you can go back to the earlier part of my reading where I mentioned where she tried to, guilt trip him. How would that phrase go? The next card that came out is empathy. And I can feel that this was what he was trying to do. It says, I am open to seeing both sides of a situation. And this is what I feel that he was trying to. So empathy for me translates into him trying to see things from a different perspective. Seeing if I can adapt and adjust to this culture that is very different from my culture, right? And so being empathetic to her culture, being empathetic to maybe the parenting ways, being empathetic to the situation to see if it's something that will help him to kind of go the distance with their marriage, right? Because in marriage we have to compromise. In marriage we have to be empathetic. It's not always one-sided, right? Because overall it comes down to there are three sides of a situation. It's you, the person, and the truth. It's never two sides. So if you are a person that is mature enough to try to be empathetic, to see that it's not my way, it's not one side, let me see things from her perspective. Let me see things from her belief system, her value system, her culture. All right? So I feel that in the very first year that he was trying to empathize and see things from that perspective, to be open to seeing it to that situation. And then the last card, after seeing things and after kind of rounding up, we have the death card. And the death card, to me in tarot, it is like the death and rebirth. It's an ending of something, and we did see the tens here represented, an ending of something. And here it says, I am learning that endings are merely beginnings. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for those that come across this channel, I would say that's exactly, literally, how it ended. It ended with him deciding to end it because he felt it was the need to release things in place, personal things. So releasing the situation, releasing Jeannie Mai, releasing the family, releasing and walking away from that environment because it no longer served him. Okay, and I wish I knew exactly what it was that he said on his Instagram post, because basically what he said, it drove home the point that he had to follow. Basically it was kind of overall like this guilt thing where it says my soul's growth. So it's almost where he mentioned about his growing. So it's very fitting and interesting that these cards came out. And so, guys, in addition to what came out in my intuition, this is what I see and feel. And so, like I said, at the end, there's no judgment here. I just picked up more stronger on his energy and picking up on how he really felt. And I really feel that during the course of the last year of marriage, it was a bit much for him. And when it comes to Jeannie Mai, the aftermath of it all, she is dealing with it traumatically. It's very traumatizing for her. All right. So, guys, this is where I'm going to close. It's time for me to wrap it up here and to put an end to this. I hope that if for those that was wondering and curious, maybe I was able to kind of bring, my intuitive insights into what may have happened here. But nonetheless, at the end, nothing is set in stone. There is free will, and people can maybe reconcile. I didn't tap into that to see if there was going to be a reconciliation. I would say, if I had to say, I would feel the answer is no. I don't think that this is doable. I don't feel it. But again, nothing is set in stone. People can change. Energies can change. But I personally don't think there is a reconciliation. Okay, I just feel that he will try his best to try to have some type of cordial way of dealing with Jeannie when it comes to their daughter. I think it would just be enough to just kind of connect to his daughter. But that's it. All right, guys. So if you, I won't say enjoyed, because there's nothing enjoyable about a failure of a marriage. So I won't say we enjoyed this reading. But if in fact you feel that it made sense, or if I connected the dots as to what may have happened, let me know in the comment section. Drop your feedback to let me know what you did think. And if you, felt that it made sense to you, then you can send some fire to that thumbs button to give me a like. All right, everyone. Until the next reading on this channel, Meaningful Intuitive Guided Tarot is signing off and wishing all of you a wonderful Tuesday. peace, love, and light. And as well, we wish Jeannie Mai and Jeezy well in their individual journeys. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Bye.